Welcome back to the incredibly festive tiny room.
It's so festive. The lights, the snow,
the twinkles.
the twinkles. There's so much twinkle. I still don't know why you decorated the tiny room.
With twinkles. I'm Michael, and I'm here with my exceptionally Yuletidinous host, Benjamin. Say Happy Yule, Ben.
That's a lie. I refuse to do that. I hate this time of year.
You don't like Christmas?
I hate Christmas.
Are you a Grinch?
I'm a super Grinch.
Are you a Scrooge?
Super Grinch. Super Grinch.
Very good.
Super Grinchy. I'm also a Scrooge.
You're a Grinch and a Scrooge.
A Grooge.
What other
Or a
people,
Scrinch.
What other people don't like Christmas? There's a Grinch.
Bill Murray played a Scrooge-esque person once upon a time.
Didn't he just play Scrooge?
Or was it just a modern?
I think it was just a modern, yeah.
He did that Netflix special that kind of flopped, but has found cult following because it had Bill Murray in it.
Which one?
A Very Murray Christmas.
Oh, never heard of it. Is
See?
it good?
No.
Is it
bit shoehorned?
Is it a Netflix original?
It is.
Well, Ben, speaking of Netflix originals at Christmas,
Really?
what a bloody segue.
Goodness.
I've just gone ahead and assumed that you haven't seen Bright.
Hey Mick,
Yeah.
I've ruined your bit. I've seen Bright! I've seen it. I watched it once, the whole way through, and I didn't even miss a part. I didn't even take a break. I watched the whole thing from start to finish. I'm very proud.
Down is up. Bloody.
Up is down. Upside down. I've seen Stranger Things as well.
Hats as shoes.
The world as we know it is coming to an end.
It's actually, Ben, although you have surprised me, it's an interesting thing.
It is.
No, not the show.
Oh, having seen it.
It's interesting that you've seen it, because this is one of the things about Netflix's distribution model. It takes so little effort to see it.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Even for a movie that you really want to see in the cinema, something you are really excited about,
Yeah.
a Blade Runner, a Thor Ragnarok, you still had to go, buy your ticket, gather up a friend or two.
There's a ritual.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Whereas with Bright, you're just sitting there, and then the disembodied voice of Netflix goes, Hey Ben, do you want to watch this?
Have you got possessed Netflix? Have you got
I've got
the deluxe model?
Satanic Netflix.
You've got satanic Netflix where
Oh.
Beelzebub gives you suggestions.
Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? I'd say that Bright, this is, Ben, I'm just completely making this up. This is random.
What we do on the podcast.
I'd say Bright will be the most watched movie of this year.
Because of the push
Just because it takes so little effort to watch it.
and because of the season.
Well, everyone's at home.
Yeah.
They just say, hey, wouldn't you like to see this? It's got Will Smith in it. You like Will Smith, don't you?
Everyone likes Will Smith.
Everyone.
Fresh Prince.
Yeah, everyone likes Will Smith.
He's
Everyone
still
likes,
in LA. He's not in Bel Air.
everyone
What?
likes David Ayer.
Do they?
Well,
Should they?
Training Day is pretty good.
Training Day is pretty good. So what the hell happened, David?
End of Watch is pretty good.
End of Watch is also very good. So what the hell happened, David?
Everyone likes Max Landis.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. What the hell, David?
Chronicle was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
I still like Chronicle.
Chronicle
My
was
favorite.
pretty good.
If I got superpowers, that's how I would be. The movie Chronicle. Watch it. It's good.
Would you be the
Evil
Dane
guy.
DeHaan?
Yeah, Dane DeHaan. Yeah, just really.
To the end of the podcast.
Hmm?
Would you try and vaporize me as Dane DeHaan? Not vaporizing you, crush me with your telekinetic prowess.
Probably depends on how badly things have gone up to that point.
Would you compete in a high school talent show?
Did he do that?
Yeah, remember?
Oh,
he
he
has
did
the
the juggling.
really finessed skills.
Yeah.
Because he can move tiny objects that they can't do.
Yeah,
he has finesse. They can do an bit of shoving.
Has Michael B. Jordan in it as well?
Yeah,
He does a lot of comic book movies.
he does. He's awfully good at them, though. I
Well,
like Michael B. Well, I mean, when he's given a good script.
Fan Four Stick wasn't great, was it?
No.
And Dane DeHaan was in that. Oh,
Goodness. Was Dane DeHaan in Fantastic?
wasn't he? Wasn't he Mr. Fantastic?
No, that's Miles Teller.
Oh, it was Miles Teller.
Miles Teller. They're interchangeable. They're white nerdy guys that are making careers for themselves. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Miles Teller seems intensely unlikable in person.
I think Dane DeHaan seems unlikable.
I'd say he's one of these method guys. I'd say he's a bit of a Jared Leto.
You think so?
Jared
like
Leto?
a tiny Jared Leto.
Yeah, but he hasn't even got the good looks or cult 80s following to back him up. Like he hasn't 90s following. 90.
Anyway, we're 5 minutes in and we haven't even talked
sorry.
about Bright.
So yeah, speaking of people with 90s fame and prowess, Will Smith.
Yeah.
Movie, fairies,
Yeah.
stuff.
Did you like it?
Bit shoehorned for me.
The
I already said that about a Netflix thing, But,
what did you say that about?
The symbolism. I said about a very Merry Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Bit shoehorned, bit on the nose for me.
Lacking finesse.
Lacking any finesse whatsoever. Not unlike a certain other David Ayer film that just seems to, he's really into gang culture.
He is, and let's be fair. End of Watch and Training Day are both good movies.
Yeah, but you see, he's really into 90s gang culture, you see. And I don't know if David realises that the 90s are over.
Oh.
I don't think David gets it anymore.
Speaking as our LA gang expert.
Yeah.
What did you find unrealistic about the gang culture in this movie?
The lounging around.
I've made Ben blush.
The lounging around in like huge groups in like oversized baseball jerseys and hockey jerseys and stuff like that. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, very old fashioned. They didn't seem to feel the heat of LA. I know
they were orcs.
Did they not feel?
I don't know.
Heat. It was very hard for me to tell. But then he kind of took like elements of black culture from LA, and then he kind of mixed them with mafioso elements of New York. Like it was a very structured gangland kind of. It
didn't make a lot of sense to me actually, because
it was quite messy.
I mean, it's a bit of an allegory, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's just race politics.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
And the orcs were gangs, but not specifically black gangs or Latino gangs or even Muslim gangs. They're just gangs.
They're a minority,
but they were still human gangs.
Yeah, it was very confusing. Like, because then we had Latinos.
Yeah.
And they had their what do they call it? Hood.
Yeah. And the Alamo still happened.
That's the thing. Mexicans still get shit for the Alamo. That's what he says. That's exactly what he says.
I mean, how did the sequence of events that led to this world also result in the Alamo?
That's the thing. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know if they were going for a kind of a True Blood situation where all of a sudden another race of people revealed themselves.
They definitely weren't.
And they had to be... No, but they didn't. What they did was they rewrote all of human history.
Yeah.
And they, all the humans banded together back in the day with the elves, and they all went to war, and they took on the Dark Lord.
The Dark Lord, yeah.
Very, very creative naming.
Nice and generic.
Yeah, very creative naming.
Did you see the opening quote? The opening quote is something like, "Only a bright can wield the magic wand. The Great Prophecy."
Oh, what a prophecy, eh?
Oh, we know we're in for a ride now.
That's prophecy by Twitter.
It's prophecy
140 characters.
Prophecy by bloody numbers. Ben, I didn't like it, to be honest with you. I have to say. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
It wasn't very good. It wasn't very bad, but it was like something you'd see on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day.
I think it was a bit better than that, let's be honest. It was $90 million put into this movie.
What?
Yeah.
That was not
on screen.
That was not shown on screen.
Will Smith got a fair chunk of it, I imagine.
Yeah.
It was very much...
national treasure.
I'm going to list a list of kind of January and October flops.
Okay.
That you could kind of put it in with.
Okay.
Underworld Blood Wars.
Ooh.
Victor Frankenstein.
Ooh.
The Seventh Son.
Ooh. Those are good books.
Often things are based on books.
Yeah.
The Last Witch Hunter.
Ooh.
Did you see that?
With
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
It was very like that.
You witches don't know what you can do.
It's not a great Vin Diesel impression.
No, it wasn't. But it was a very silly movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, as generic fantasy stuff goes.
But that was the problem with it. You've hit the nail on the head.
What, generic fantasy?
It starts off as a cop movie.
And they lose track of that completely.
Yeah, and it ends up as a generic fantasy movie. The last hour is... You could just switch it out to the last hour of The Last Witch Hunter. Yeah. Or switch it out for the last hour of The Seventh Son. Mm-hmm. It seems like an interesting premise.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a problem as well. A friend of mine pointed this out to me. If you're going to make a movie about Will Smith and his partner is the first orc police officer.
Oh.
That's the interesting person. The first orc police officer.
Yeah, not Will Smith.
Not Will Smith.
God bless him. But yeah.
It's just... What?
But you get very little background on the orc.
Yeah.
Why was he not blooded? Did they explain this?
I can't remember.
His family brought shame to the dojo or something?
There was something like that. He didn't sweep the leg.
But it was very arbitrary. Like, I didn't really understand what was going on there.
Well, that's your fault.
No, but fair. Fair enough. I don't understand a lot of things. I'm a little slow on the uptake.
I've been looking at a lot of criticism recently, and I've decided that I don't like the criticism I didn't understand.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So take that.
That's
Ben.
Decent.
That is your name.
Fair enough. That's your real name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Joel Edgerton's character was way more interesting.
Or could have been.
Or could have. Yeah.
Should have been
way more interesting. He's very decent. Very decent character compared to Will Smith, who seems a bit of a putz.
Yeah. Some good classic Will Smith one-liners.
Yeah.
I don't want to die titty bar gunfight death.
Yeah,
that was pretty
getting
good.
jiggy with it. Don't
think he said that.
He definitely did.
Did he?
He said it in between swatting the fairy and the titty bar gunfight.
Fairy lives don't matter.
Lives don't matter.
Yeah,
today. Y'all go back to your gang shit.
Yeah, that other guy came from Miami, which robbed him of the opportunity to say "Welcome to Miami,"
which is a real shame.
Yeah,
which is a real shame.
Yeah, it was just
the guy who came from Miami used to be a bus driver. That's the part I really.
The orc,
the orc who started the Orc Empire, kind of the secret underground orc criminal organization.
That's what upset you about it.
But he was a bus driver in Miami, and he just decided because of the persecution of his people.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's probably based on some true story somewhere.
Probably. God.
Yeah, it was just a bit generic. It was
very ham-fisted. It was very on the nose. I thought it was a bit rich, everyone getting on the hating orc trains, even the black officers and the Latinos, and you're kind of thinking, is there not a kind of a camaraderie point to that segregation? Because I think segregation probably still happened. If the Alamo still happened and we still have human racism, then we still got segregation.
Yeah.
Like, did segregation still take place?
The TV show The Gifted handled that pretty well.
Oh, did they?
You've probably seen it. The main character's mother is being interviewed, and it says, we noticed you protested in South Africa against apartheid in the 80s. And she says, the black people weren't the only ones they were treating poorly. Or it might have been the mutants weren't the only ones
they were treating poorly.
Yeah, so
they were mistreating everybody, I think is what she says.
They did a good job of integrating it.
But that's weird, isn't it? That's weird.
What's weird?
I don't know. It's very difficult to take, because they leave Earth's history intact.
Yeah.
And they're putting this huge...
Here's a lot of other things that happen.
Surely, if everyone's fully... It's not even lost in prophecy anymore. Everyone was very aware that the Dark Lord was a thing. Because everyone says, they picked the Dark Lord. Everybody uses that as this... So this huge magical thing is well known. And yet there's still regular old...
Although it did happen 2,000 years ago, and lots of things that happened 2,000 years ago didn't happen in real life.
That's...
Speaking of things which happened 2,000 years ago, Benjamin, have you been doing any special Christmas reading?
I have indeed. I've come across... I don't know if you were familiar with the 90s.
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them?
I bloody lived through them, Ben.
Did you?
I did.
I was born in them. Moulded by them.
Raised by them. You didn't see the 2000s until you were already a man.
No, how that happened was so basically we had lots of pouches, we had lots of muscles, we had big badasses with cigars and things like that,
guns,
big old guns,
we had leather jackets,
had your Wolverines, your Cables,
short leather jackets,
your Deadpools, yes, your short leather jackets,
big
your
hair.
Cropped leather jackets.
Yeah.
Is it a cropped leather jacket?
Yeah.
And I think while this was all going on, you'll notice that a lot of those characters are Marvel based. And while this was going on, DC thought this was very silly, so they created a pastiche, if you will, of especially of Wolverine, but of the entire anti-hero movement. And his name,
I know where we're going.
His name was Lobo.
That's the
Lobo.
Latin for wolf.
Is it the Latin for wolf?
Is it?
I think it's the Spanish for wolf.
Oh, it might just be the Spanish for wolf.
It could also be the thing for... I'm not sure. I don't speak Latin.
No, does anybody? Dominus Invictus.
Oh, we told you. The Gregorian chanting podcast is coming. If this one goes well, we'll do the Gregorian chant podcast.
I am summoning Satan.
Only for Netflix recommendations. So, anyway...
Lobo.
They created Lobo. He's a huge, hulking space biker.
Not anymore.
No, he's been retconned.
Oh, is he back?
the metrosexual bounty hunter Lobo was an imposter who stole Lobo's name to boost his reputation.
Good.
Lobo was actually being kept in stasis by Amanda Waller for the Weapon X program because she attempted to integrate him into the Task Force X. God damn it! There's so many shadow government organizations that use X.
Damn you, shadow government organizations!
Pick a different letter. Task Force X, also known as Suicide Squad. And she was going to use him, but he was too volatile. Couldn't manage him. If she blew his head off, it grew back. Because Lobo is a bounty hunter for hire across the galaxy. He rides a space motorbike through space. And he's from an ancient race called Charnia, so it's Czarnia, so I'm taking a guess at that.
Didn't he kill them all?
He killed them all. He's a big old genocidal space bounty hunter. A space genocidist. And he has kind
of a space Hitler.
Yeah, he's
not just a regular old Hitler.
But if space Hitler needed cash, so it's very weird. Anyway, he's traditionally a Superman foe. He's big enough to go head to head with Superman. He carries a big meat hook around on a chain. That's his weapon of choice. He has super regenerative abilities. He can literally regenerate from an atom.
Really?
So he's super strong. He can take endless amounts of abuse, and he can track anything he has the scent of.
How did Wolverine beat him then?
Because Marvel have I think it's legacy rights where like Wolverine's been around longer, so you get to beat the newer character.
Also, it's a fan vote.
Exactly. So you're not. He doesn't have.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that was silly. That was very silly. Like the bracelets. Anyway. Should definitely do an episode on bizarre crossover events. So anyway, he's big, he's bad, and in the 90s, at the height of his fame, people loved him because he was this big piss take of ultra violence. He had a big old cigar, and he uses the word bastich, as in B-A-S-T-I-C-H, and it's become his famous catchphrase because when they want to use him in the comics, they have to give him, if they want to integrate him into non-over 18 comics, non-R-rated comics, they have to give him different language that he can use other than bastard.
Like frack.
Like frack instead of fuck.
Or
so you frequently hear you fracking bastich, which is quite funny. But anyway, quite popular. And what they used to do was, because he was such a silly character, they would put him in very silly situations. One such situation was Lobo Paramilitary, where he was hired by the Easter Bunny to take out Santa Claus.
Yeah, Santa Claus is a real prick.
He's a real bad egg. And he does this. And that event is not really all that significant. It's not a big deal. It was a one-shot.
Why did the Easter Bunny not like Santa?
Because he took all his thunder. Apparently, he was like
Santa.
He was top Kids' Choice Awards kind of grade level. And anyway, he meets him in the Easter Bunny is drunk in a bar. Meets him, hires him to kill Santa. So then that was like a nice little one-off. He's also taken on God on several occasions. He killed the host of heaven and was sent back to Earth. It was a whole thing. So basically, that was fine until much later in the future, when Mark Millar has taken over.
No, not Miller.
The Authority, which you love, Michael.
Well,
yeah,
I used to.
Well, unfortunately, the creative team behind this little crossover, Lobo and the Authority, have taken a leaf out of Miller's book, and they used the ridiculously pastiche versions of Morrison Authority. Again, we have super junky Shaman.
It wasn't Morrison.
We have
Warren Ellis.
Ellis era. We have super junky
Doctor
Shaman or Doctor, whatever. Yeah. We have Nympho Engineer.
Good.
We have Nympho Hawk for some reason. She's
Swift.
Swift, yeah, she's really into that stuff. We have gratuitously oversexed homosexual couple thing who can't be around each other without wanting to sleep together.
Classic gay men.
Classic gay men. You know, you just can't function in society around other men. You know what it's like. You know, it's like if I had a nickel for every time, I'd be in the wrong country. That's all good, and there are all these, and it's not Jenny Sparks, it's Jenny Quantum.
Yeah, because she's a little baby.
She's a little baby.
Has she grown up?
No, she's a hyper-intelligent baby.
Yeah.
She's about 4 years old, I think, in this particular iteration. And no one on the ship, the carrier, wants to spend time with her on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
her adoptive fathers, who are Apollo and Midnighter, are off sexing each other up.
Of course they are.
The engineer and Jock Hawksmoor are off sexing each other up. Swift is on an alien dating site when she comes into her room. She's like, "Oh, you can't see this," and she sends her away. And then the shaman is high off his tits, and he sends her away as well. So they let the little girl wander around the alien ship, and her powers
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, on Christmas Eve, and she actually leaves them and walks down a dark part of the ship and says "fuckers." So this will give you an idea of the kind of grade of storytelling we're dealing with here. And she finds, very metally, the Lobo paramilitary comic from the 90s.
How meta.
And she reads through it. And she comes to the authority we do a quick cut panel to the next page, and she's holding up the comic. She has snot running down her nose and she's bawling her eyes out, and she says, "Find him and punish him." And she hands the comics to the authority. So it's like she screams down the ship and she gets them, and she wants them to hunt down Lobo.
Oh, for killing Santa.
For killing Santa, exactly. So, interestingly... Yeah, exactly, because it's Christmas.
Right.
So, interestingly,
that's your
this
opinion.
This is where the crossover kind of goes whole hog. And it turns out, you know the weird parasite creatures that worship the god entity?
The worm things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lived in it.
They're dying now.
Makes sense.
And their last action is to hire Lobo to take out the authority.
What a coincidence.
What a coincidence. So anyway, it turns out that Midnighter, Apollo, and the rest of the gang have a discussion about whether they should tell Jenny that Santa isn't real. Because in a world...
Ben!
Yeah.
People are listening!
Because in a world of space bounty hunters and alien dating sites, Santa is the thing that's not real.
I'm shocked.
So, she does this, right?
Go on.
But it turns out that Jenny has gotten, PTSD from reading the comic.
Yeah.
And her powers reshape reality so that Santa is dead.
Oh no.
Yeah. So they go to the North Pole, and Midnighter goes with her with the intention of showing her there's nothing here, nothing lives.
Those
in the
reality
North
warping
Pole.
children. We should have put her in our episode.
We should have. Oh man.
We can edit it later.
We'll time travel later. We'll fix it. And she goes and she talks to them. She goes and it turns out that the North Pole has been decimated, and it's terrible. But the rest of the world gets decimated as well.
Oh,
no! She turns the world upside down.
God damn it, Jenny!
Literally, this misery kind of spreads through the world, and the authority realizes what's going on right at the moment that Lobo bursts in and starts taking them all out. So we have this whole kerfuffle business, and eventually she uses her powers. She shuts Lobo down and she shows him the comics and says, "You're awful." And Lobo, again, in a moment of supreme metaness, says, "Oh, this is promotional material. This never happened. This is something that they used to do to build up my reputation."
Oh,
and it's it's a DC kind of riff. It's very strange. It's a very odd meta comic. It's very bad.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's very bad.
Who wins the fights?
Lobo wins. He takes them all out.
Oh, wow. So it's a Lobo
comic.
He
even takes out Midnighter.
Wow.
Midnighter gives him a good old run for his money, but Midnighter can't make anything stick. He just wears him down. And then he pretty much pummels him around a little bit. And then Apollo, I think he just pummels Apollo nearly to death. He nearly cuts his head off or something.
Classic Apollo. At least he doesn't rape him.
Yeah, there was no rape.
Good.
I was quite happy with that, actually.
One of the first times ever in an authority comic.
There was not an ounce of rape.
No, it was not very Christmassy.
Not an ounce of rape. It was the least Hollywood thing to happen all year. So, anyway, that was my first one. I don't recommend you read it. It's very silly. It's very over the top. It will only increase the hurt that you have in your heart for what's happened to the authority. So I really don't recommend it.
I thought you were going to say what's happened to Christmas.
Well, Christmas is fine. Christmas comes out of it intact. They actually have to tell Jenny. But the last panel is her bawling her eyes out because they told her. It's a really sad ending. It's the adults all go off to their adult Christmas. And they all drink and make merry at Christmas, and it's just the last panel is little Jenny Quantum hanging an ornament on the tree with a tear rolling down her cheek.
It's so mean-spirited.
It's so mean-spirited. I was lads.
The authority became so mean-spirited. It's just, get out of here, you bad eggs. Benjamin.
Yes.
You may not know this, but I consider you a millennial.
Okay.
Do you know that about yourself?
I didn't know you considered me a millennial,
yes,
but most people do, I think.
Oh, good, okay. Because, I'm curmudgeonly, so I don't really know what millennials are, other than I fear them.
I think it's ever since you got that walking stick you have to use to get around.
You people
have... That's really not my word to use.
In a sense, I don't know, if it's kind of rebellion against Christmas, A rebellion against traditional Christmas. Exactly.
That's 2.
I've said it a few times.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
Christmas. It's
It's
Christmas.
Christmas fucks all around.
But you people have kind of revived or made internet popular a character from Central European folklore.
Is it German?
Yeah, it's the Krampus.
No, it's the Krampus.
I'm talking about the Krampus, Ben. You're aware of the Krampus.
I do know the Krampus. He's a big old black goat horn-headed, long-tongued son of a gun.
Yeah, he's a half goat, half demon thing from
Yoke.
Alpine countries.
Like Switzerland.
Switzerland, Austria,
Yodeling,
southern Germany.
yodeling. Does he yodel?
No.
Does he wear a lederhosen?
No. Although in Finland they have joulupuki. Joulupuki means... this is true. This is a true story. So I don't have notes for this, so sure. I could get something wrong. Joulupuki means Christmas goat. Yule, obviously. And Puki is like man. It comes from Odin.
Ooh.
Because when Odin was Santa in the north, he wasn't called Wotan, he was called Yultan.
Oh, okay.
When he was travelling around on his sleigh.
Drawn by goats?
Drawn by reindeer, because they actually... Oh, goats, yeah, first goats. But later reindeer, because they actually have reindeer.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
But yeah, goats. And Joulupuki was Christmas goat. Because that's what it translates as.
Fair enough.
And he wore lederhosen.
Yay!
He wore tight red leather pants. That's Wikipedia there.
not unlike Christmas in certain gay bars.
Yeah.
Tight red leather pants.
Yeah, or straight bars.
Or straight bars from the 90s.
Yeah, or it's just bloody Wonder Woman wears tight red leather pants in Justice League.
It does a wonderful job.
Does a fine job of it.
It does a wonderful job.
What was I saying before you massively distracted me?
You're the one that brought up Gal Gadot's wonderful leather pants wearing skills.
Anyway, be quiet for a second. So the Krampus. The Krampus is back, Ben. He's back. He's big in popular culture now. The Americans particularly have embraced him. Like I said, possibly as a kind of railing against capitalism, and for the Germanic people, the Alpine people, the Krampus is this half goat. He has one hoof and one human foot.
It's got to be awkward getting around.
I know, it's weird. Because he's half demon, half goat.
Imagine his first dance with his wife. Very awkward. Lots of ow.
He does sometimes have a wife. Oh, in some of the legends.
I didn't know that actually. Yeah. that was supposed to be a witty kind of aside.
He's basically. It looks like he's based on your traditional devil.
Sure. Or
your traditional pre-Christian, like a goat-headed god.
Pagan, a pan.
Yeah,
if you will.
A pan. Or a bloody.
Okay.
Any of those goat people.
That's interesting.
Anyway, Krampus. He comes and he beats the kids.
Beats them?
Yeah. So St. Nicholas gives presents to the good eggs, and Krampus beats the bad eggs.
Does he make a bad omelette?
You can't make a bad omelette without breaking a few bad eggs.
Yeah, that's the last. That's the last podcast ever. We've peaked. We've peaked.
So he beats them, or else he puts them in his sack and takes them to Spain. No, that's not. That's not. That's the wrong person. That's Schwarter Pete. That's true. This is true. This is nothing to do with the podcast.
He's taking people to Spain on punishment.
Yeah. So do you not know this?
No.
So in the Netherlands, they have.
Is this the blackface guy?
Yeah, they have Sinterklaas, Santa Claus, basically. But Sinterklaas comes from Spain every year to the Netherlands.
Is that why he's so tanned?
No, that's not. No, he's not black. He's your typical like Roman Catholic bishop looking guy.
He comes from Spain. And
he comes from Spain on a ship with presents for the kids, with loads of helpers.
Oh, okay.
Called Zwarte Piets, Black Peters.
Oh.
And the Black Peters, if you're bad, they put you in a sack and take you back to Spain.
Like we did to their people when we were selling them into slavery. We went to Africa, put them in sacks, and
maybe you did. I
gave them to people. That's awful.
But I think it says a lot that the most terrifying thing that could happen to a Dutch child is to be taken to Spain
by a black person.
They're not people; they're kind of elves. Sort of
oh, they're not people! Oh my goodness!
The Zwarte Piets. The Zwarte Piets. What are we talking about? Yes.
Sorry, you brought up the Krampus. But look at those waves, man. My laugh just wrecks this podcast. I'm so sorry.
So Krampus getting back on topic, he comes and he beats the bad kids, or he takes them and he takes them back to hell.
Ah, Jesus.
So you'd probably want to stop that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you wouldn't want that going on.
So amazingly, Ben, and this is probably because Krampus has only recently reappeared in popular culture. There's a new Hellboy comic.
Hellboy
From writer Mike
Mignola, I think.
Is it Mignola?
It's either Mignola or Mignola.
And
but I don't know.
Artist extraordinaire Adam Hughes.
Famous for making comic book ladies very Art Nouveau-y.
Yeah.
Very, very, very sexy.
Quite busty.
Busty.
Like a pin-up.
Like, they're all like pin-ups. Quite good, though. Like, he has a really nice art style.
Much better than a Greg Land.
Oh, you don't want a Greg Land.
Or much better than a... is he better than, what's his name? Cho?
Frank Cho?
Frank Cho.
I think in terms of colouring and composition, he far outclasses Frank Cho. But I think Frank Cho does a real nice anatomically correct sexy lady.
Interestingly enough about this, he doesn't do it in his Adam Hughes style, though. He does it in a kind of Mike Mignola homage style.
Oh. But he's been massively influential, though, Mike Mignola.
The work... I showed you this comic earlier. You didn't read it.
I didn't get a chance.
I'm going to spoil it, by the way. So
that's fine.
Happy Christmas.
I assume that Hellboy wins in some form.
Or does he, Ben?
Oh, no!
It's kind of tragic in some certain senses.
Oh,
anyway,
goodness. Okay, tell me more.
Adam Hughes' art is a bit more detailed than a Mike Mignola art.
It is.
It's not as abstract-y.
It's got some textures.
Yeah. It still looks... Like, if you stuck it in a collection, it would be fine. It wouldn't stick out and you go, oh, what's that? Anyway, so it's... I can't really remember this, so I could be wrong. So, a few days before Christmas, a weird old German man shows up in a church and he goes like, boo, spooky man! And things start flying around.
Fair.
And the priest goes, oh mein Gott!
In Himmel?
Yes, and then the spooky man says, not exactly.
Oh, that's...
Right?
That's poor dialogue.
So, no, well, that's not the dialogue, as I said.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, you're paraphrasing. Thank God for that, because I would have lost a lot of respect for Mike Mignola.
No, the dialogue's much better than that.
I quite like all the characters you've listed so far. I'm a huge Hellboy fan, so I was really worried.
Yeah, no, everything's fine. It's good. So then Hellboy gets wind of this.
Mm-hmm.
And Hellboy is wandering through the forest trying to find this old man's house to go and question him.
To go give him an L.
Give him an question.
Knuckle sandwich.
An old right fist of doom.
Oh, God bless it. I can't remember. I think it's the right-handed doom.
Isn't it the wrong one in the movie, though?
Oh, I don't know. Have you seen...
David Harbour?
David Harbour as him. He leaked a couple of...
Isn't it interesting that... I was thinking this when I was reading it. The Adam Hughes looks so much like Mike Mignola's style. But then people are complaining about how much the David Harbour Hellboy looks like the Ron Perlman Hellboy. But Hellboy looks like that.
That's what Hellboy looks like.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like Ron Perlman. He looks like Hellboy.
Yeah, they just nailed it.
Yeah.
And they've nailed
that's
it both
the problem.
times.
They've done it twice. Like, the best thing about the Hellboy movies is Hellboy.
Or Abe Sapien.
He was pretty good too, actually. Yeah. He was pretty gosh darn good. They pretty much made... have you seen the what is it?
Shape of Water?
Shape of Water, that's it. Mm-hmm. It looks interesting, doesn't it? Loads of people are like, oh my god, it's an Abe Sapien origin story. And it's like, I guarantee it's not.
Yeah.
They won't do that.
It looks much creepier. Anyway.
Yeah, it looks real.
So Hellboy's he's wandering through the forest trying to find this person. And then a ghost lady appears, a sexy Adam Hughes ghost lady. And she's like, oh, find what happened to my son. Ooh. And Hellboy's like, all right, I'll do that. So
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Hellboy goes and he finds this old man. He says, like, who are you? And anyways, and he says, I'm a Krampus.
A Krampus?
No, the Krampus.
Oh, okay.
And Krampus is a demon.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to go back to hell.
Oh.
So he wants Hellboy to kill... He specifically wants Hellboy to kill him with his magic hand.
Because it sends people to hell.
To send them back to hell.
It sends them to heck.
So they have a fight.
Ooh.
Excellent fight.
Yeah.
When I started reading comics, and I found them hard to follow sometimes, I always thought, there's a real skill to knowing how to read a comic. But I don't think that's true. It's just some comics are bad.
Yeah, I think comics can be terrible.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I think some artists that work in comics just shouldn't work in comics.
Greg Land.
Greg Land is such a confusing soul. His overlay technique. He's so lazy.
You don't call Greg Land lazy. He's efficient. People call me lazy, and that's how I go. Have you seen our weekly videos?
Well, his efficiency... Yeah, that's fair. That facial expression is worth its weight in gold.
Easy up there, Ben. Taking your shots.
Oh, shots fired. Yeah, Craig Land is lazy. I think he overlays. The amount of times I've seen Samuel L. Jackson be the face for whatever black character he has to draw is bloody insulting.
50 Cent.
I think he only knows 2 black guys, and it's 50 Cent and Samuel L. Jackson.
He's just a classic tracer.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not
an L trace.
Adam Hughes.
Adam
Hughes, not a tracer. Adam Hughes, very, very clear.
Yes.
It's very clear, very simple fight. It's faster to read that way as well, which can be sometimes a problem when you've paid your €4 for a comic and you're like, oh, I'm finished now.
You've got some suspense.
So anyway, they have a great fight. Krampus his look changes as they're fighting. He gets more demonic and skeleton starts showing through and everything. Oh. It's like, oh, it's horrible. Then somehow or other, the ghost children are like, here, Hellboy, he killed us all. He's a real bad egg. Yeah, take this knife. And he kills him with the knife. And he kills the Krampus. Oh. And then the Krampus turns back into a goat.
Oh.
And he doesn't go to hell.
Oh.
And he's not a demon.
Oh.
He's just a goat.
Oh. What's that got to do with anything?
Well, that's the enduring mystery, isn't it?
Is there some... See, the thing about it is...
Go on.
That Mike Mignola loves an L deep dive on the myths.
Yeah.
Like
we do here.
We love them.
The tiny room.
We love them. But he's like one of the originators of... I'm just going to retell stories with this guy kicking the crap out of them. Mm-hmm. And that's what he does. He literally delves into cultures. And he goes deep. Like, he digs right down to base myths.
Well, there's a reference to Yolupuki in this comic.
I see.
There's a whole chat where they have about what was Krampus. Was he just a horned god? Was he like a twisted version of the horned god?
Why is he doing it now?
Was he a Yolupuki or what was he? And Hellboy's like, oh no, it turns out he's just a goat. Yeah, and it's kind of tragic because he didn't get to go back to hell where he thought he was from, and
he's just a goat.
He's just a goat that got powers and went a bit mad.
Oh.
And he didn't get his final.
He was a real bad egg.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Editing that out.
Oh yeah, no you're not.
That's getting.
No you're not. That stays. That stays.
Anyway, it's very good, and because they have a yearly special in Hellboy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yearly winter special. Well, kind of. They did one in 2016, 2017, and this is technically the 2018 one, even though it came out in December.
Yeah, okay.
Look, it's real good. I'll give it to you when we're finishing.
Great. I like it. I'll take an L flick.
Yeah,
that'll be good. That'll be good.
Have a flick through it, but it's really good. Yeah, it's really nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. What else did you read for Krampus?
So, as I said, kind of a Grooge or a Scrinch.
Scrinch.
Not a big fan of this time of year. For no particular reason.
What's the reason?
I'm just not a big fan of this time of year.
Do your family not give you presents?
No, they do. They go hard on Christmas. They love. Tis the most wonderful time of the year.
Do you not like turkey
household.
and
ham? Not necessarily. No problem with turkey or ham.
Do you not like the movie Die Hard?
I love Die Hard.
That's a Christmas movie.
Nakatomi Plaza.
Do you not like the movie Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is phenomenal.
Great movie.
Robert Downey Jr. The beginning of the resurgence of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, and Michelle Monaghan is a sexy Santa lady.
Who dies? No, wrong character. Never mind.
Val Kilmer is in it. He's fat.
He's getting chubby. Chubbing up.
Do you not like...
That means something else. Never mind.
Do you not like the film Iron Man 3?
No. Well, that's okay. That's a problem for another day. Yeah. I came out of it being like, wow! And then I thought about it and I was like, oh.
It's only okay.
It's only okay.
What else is a Christmas film? The Krampus.
I'm a big fan of the Krampus.
Have you seen...
No, it's just a goat.
Very good, because I just said that a second ago. Have you seen the movie Rare Exports?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's worth a watch.
Worth a watch.
It's worth a watch if you like horror and you like
I like
Swedish people.
I like Swedes.
Is it sweet? I think it is.
I like Swedes. Swedes are cool. But anyway, as I said, not a huge fan of this time of year. And for that reason, my other nomination for Christmas comic, it is not specifically a Christmas comic. What it is it's set at Christmas.
Right.
And it's just all about the tension and stress and kind of the negative aspects of Christmas, I suppose. You see the dark underbelly of what happens to people that can't celebrate Christmas.
People like Jim Carrey.
People like Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey hates Christmas.
Good. Why? Why does Jim Carrey hate Christmas?
You tweeted the other day something along the lines of any holiday that expects you to put yourself into debt to show people you love them doesn't deserve to exist.
You see, okay, so we should make a clear distinction between myself and Jim Carrey, apart from the myriad other things. But I'm not...
You have a less rubbery face.
I do, it is less rubbery. I wish it was as rubbery, though. That'd be a lot of fun. I don't begrudge people Christmas.
You're not a Christmas begrudger.
I'm not a begrudger.
Like
I'm not a Christmas curmudgeon.
Okay.
I don't mind people enjoying their Christmas. I just don't want to do it.
Right.
But I'll happily, do your festive things and chat to people. But anyway, back to the comic.
Will you wear a hat?
I'll wear a hat if deemed necessary that I should partake in Christmas. I shall don a cap. Of festive cheer.
Don ye now your gay apparel.
La 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 la. Oh, that was excellent. Look at those waves. That's beautiful.
We actually hit the notes
pretty well. That was really nice.
Pretty impressed with that.
Yeah. So happy is really, really simple. There's a disgraced former police officer.
Happy is the name of the thing.
Happy is the name of the comic. Grant Morrison wrote it.
Oh, you're fond of him.
Derek Robertson illustrated it.
Derek
Robertson. That's his name.
Spelled Derek.
No, it's D-A-R-R-I-C-K.
Oh.
Derek. Not a fan of his art all the time. I think it's a bit scratch. I don't know. Something about it irks me. He did The Boys. Did
Derek
that guy. Robertson.
I am not a big fan.
Yeah, it's a bit sloppy.
It's a bit second-rate Frank Whiteley.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what... That is a perfect analogy for what that is. No offense, Derek. Happy Christmas.
Don't tag him.
But, yeah, best not to. Anyway, follows a disgraced former police officer called Nick Sachs. S-A-X.
Is he Santa Claus? Like Saint
It's kind
Nicholas,
of yeah, exactly. It's kind of played on quite well. And basically, what happens is he's a drug taking, hard drinking, ass kicking son of a gun.
Right.
Okay.
He's okay.
He
like a Lobo.
Basically he cheated on his wife.
Mrs. Claus.
Early in his career, Mrs. Claus, Mrs. Sachs.
Yeah.
And he was photographed doing this by a mobster who then put him under his employ so that it didn't ruin his marriage.
Oh.
But that it eventually all came out in a big expose article. He lost his job and now he works as a hitman for that mobster.
Expose, the fashion program on TV3.
Yeah, the TV3 fashion program. Real bad eggs exposing a cheat. Well, I mean, it depends on your perspective on cheating. Let's not get into that. So anyway, what happens is we then introduced to a little girl called Hayley.
Okay.
And Hayley is lovely. She's a little beam of light. She's very happy, very Christmassy, and she's kidnapped.
Oh no!
By a Santa.
By a bad Santa.
By a drug taking, not so ass kicking Santa.
Oh.
And we don't know what's going to happen to Hayley. She's just kidnapped and kept somewhere.
Is this the overall plot of this whole series, or is this a Christmas special?
No, it's the series. It's like a one-shot. It's a 6-part one-shot.
Okay.
You get the idea. One story. It's a
bit contradictory.
One take. What do you call that? Like a mini-series. Limited series. That's what it is.
Right.
And so anyway, what happens is Nick's in a bit of a spot because he knows a secret code word to a whole thing. I won't spoil it all because it's been adapted by Sci-Fi into a wonderful series that's currently ongoing, starring Christopher Milioni.
That is.
You'll know him if you see him.
He's one of those people.
He's one of those folks. Character actor. And he does a really good job. But the crux of it is, Hayley's imaginary friend, Happy, who is a unicorn, tiny little animated unicorn horse, finds Nick and starts to help him to track down Hayley.
Right.
And we're never really sure why that's all happening until the end, but I won't spoil it. But it's real good, because you get to look at all the kind of dark things that happen during Christmas.
It's not Sci-Fi.
There's Sci-Fi. It's their new one. It's real good, and it's voiced by Patton Oswalt in the TV series.
The synopsis on IMDb is an injured hitman befriends a perky blue horse.
He doesn't. The perky blue horse befriends him. Yeah,
it's a unicorn.
Winged unicorn.
How did the people not know the difference between a unicorn and a horse? What's his name?
Christopher Milioni, I think.
Oh, him!
Yeah, you know him.
Oh, you know him.
You know him well.
He's in everything.
He's in everything. But he's real good in this.
Would you describe him as blessed with piercing breasts?
It's a very piercing gaze, isn't it?
Would you describe him as blessed with a piercing blue-eyed glint, brawny looks, cocky, tough guy stance, and effortless charisma?
Is that what he's Who says that about him?
IMDb.
He's quite good, though. He is very charismatic.
He's in. We're going to stick him up in the video version.
He is very charismatic. Let us know what you think. Is he effortlessly charismatic? Let us know. But anyway, he befriends that. It's a really good series on Sci-Fi at the minute.
How many episodes?
I think it's going to be a 4-part series.
Oh, that's lovely.
Which is very, very tight. Tight 4.
I like tight
4. Yeah, it's real good. Production value is very high on it. The animated unicorn is phenomenal. And it's a great little cast of decent character actors that put something together. It's not gonna change the world, but it'll entertain you at Christmas.
I don't want to watch a TV show that changes the world. That's too much.
And Patton Oswalt does the voice of the unicorn. He's happy.
So you're recommending the comic and the TV show?
I actually, to be fair, it is almost a spot-on adaptation and real good.
Okay.
And it's much nicer to watch the series than to look at Derek Robertson's art.
Ooh.
Anything else?
New enemy of the podcast. Well, Ben, I just want to tell you a little Christmas tale.
Ooh.
It's not
was
that
the
exciting.
night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a Benjamin was stirring, not even a Krampus.
That's all right. That's not bad.
I
give it a 6.
Wasn't
A 6 out of 9.
I'll take that. 9 is a much easier bar to hit with a 6.
Actually, this is a story. My interest in comics kind of comes from a Christmas.
Oh.
'Twas the Christmas of 1995.
95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were but a mere baby.
A baby.
A babe in his swaddling clothes.
Not far from here, actually.
Yeah, just down there.
Yeah.
And anyway, have you ever heard of Panini? The comic company.
The sandwich.
No. So they're a comic company, and they publish comics in the UK and Ireland.
They did the stickers.
They do
the
sticker albums, exactly.
Yeah.
I completed World Cup Italia 90.
I did World Cup 2000 and...
So
which one was in Japan?
2000. None of them? Japan and Korea 2002? I don't know anything about football, Ben.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So anyway, they produce comics. And the comics are... Now, these days, they're usually pretty up to date. But in the 90s, they were collections of 3 comics. Usually about 2 years behind
the
American
collector's editions.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know them?
Yeah, I know them well. I have loads of them.
Yeah, so
I got into Batman.
That's how I got into comics, basically. TV
okay.
shows first, but then comics. So as a young child man...
A baby.
No, a young child man. How old was I in 1995? 13.
Oh.
I liked the comics and I liked TV cartoons about comics.
Sure.
So I'd never read really comics.
Sure.
And then one Christmas, I got an Essential X-Men, and the lead story in Essential X-Men was an Astonishing X-Men. No, Astonishing X-Men doesn't exist. An X-Men story from 1993, 1994.
One of the 90s.
It was 94. It was the one in which Emma Frost had been in a coma.
Okay.
And her mind escapes from her body and takes over Iceman's body.
That's strange.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's a pretty good single issue. It was Joe Madureira.
I remember that
The
name.
anime guy.
Yeah.
And
very popular in the 90s.
Oh, massively popular.
Yeah.
One of the most popular X-Men artists, I would say.
Okay, fair enough.
And she uses Iceman's body to escape, and she does crazy ass things with his powers that he never knew he could do. This is kind of the moment when they decided X-Men was super powerful. Or not X-Men, Iceman.
Iceman was super powerful.
Yeah.
He's an Omega level, isn't he?
Well, he is now, but he wasn't back then. He was just a man who did an ice sculpture every now and
then.
So the comic itself is not really anything special. It has Emma Frost. I didn't really know who Emma Frost was because she wasn't a big player.
She wasn't Jean Grey.
I wasn't that familiar with Iceman.
Yeah.
Because Iceman wasn't in the 90s cartoon. But Benjamin, it was a Christmas morning and I opened it and I probably read it 100 times.
100 times?
Probably 100 times. I don't even remember what the 2 backup stories were.
And Mick's comic knowledge grew 100 sizes that day. It's a Grinch quote.
Is that a Grinch quote? I always like his heart. Not a big Grinch fan. The old one was too old for me, new one was too new for me.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Old rubber-faced Jim.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that he's now an actual Grinch?
Yeah.
Oh, he's really inhabited that role. Went full method years later.
I think he's Andy Kaufman as well. I think he thinks he's Andy Kaufman now.
Oh, did you see the new documentary that's coming out?
No.
They're finally releasing tapes from the production of that, and apparently he went full on mental on set. But they're finally releasing it in documentary form, and they interview him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I was insane on that set."
There's a lot of movies where a documentary about the making of the movie would be probably more interesting than the movie.
I think that would be one of them.
And that would be one of them. Another would probably be Justice League.
Oh, I'd like that.
I'd say that would be bloody tragic.
Actually, I have a small bone to pick with our small Justice League episode.
Oh, go on.
Are we really saying that Warner Brothers orchestrated the family
I think
tragedy?
They'll find that I very clearly did not say that.
Because I would like to, as a reasserted and thrown retaking member of the podcast.
Yes.
No,
definitely
that
not.
tragedy was horrible.
Yeah, it was a horrible tragedy.
And no one at this table condones it.
Yeah, no jokes about tragedies around here.
No, you can have a joke about tragedy, but you can't say that it was orchestrated. That's a different beast. Very sorry to Zach. Sorry, Zach. He didn't listen to the podcast.
I don't think he did. Ben, will we wrap it up?
Yeah.
And go about our Christmas business?
I like your little Christmas story though.
Nice, isn't it?
I quite like that. That was a nice way to finish up. This is our last podcast of the year, Michael.
The last podcast of the year. Oh yeah, we should probably tell people we're going on a hiatus. For a 2-week hiatus.
For dose weeks.
For 2 weeks. Benjamin is moving.
I am. I'm leaving.
Ben is going to try and find out if they have internet in Italy.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm going. I can't. There's no answer on Google. I can't find it.
Yeah.
So I've decided to move there for a year to extensively research whether it's there.
So we're going to continue the podcast in 2 weeks.
Transnationally.
A transnational podcast. Presumably audio quality won't suffer.
Hopefully.
Look, we're saying 2 weeks. It could be a month because we mess it up.
We will have. Basically, we're going back to scratch.
Yeah.
We're taking on a brand new technical challenge. We're not up to it. Yeah.
Like the blind leaving the blind. But if you have a lovely Christmas story about comics,
or you have a favourite comic, how did you start reading comics?
Yeah, especially if it was related with Christmas. Don't get off topic.
I'll take a non-seasonal.
Don't get off topic,
Sorry.
listeners.
Sorry.
Not you, Ben. Listeners.
Oh, right, the listeners. We're taking it out on the listeners now. Yeah. Excellent.
So if you have a lovely Christmas story about comics, or how you started reading comics, but only if it was at Christmas, tell us.
Don't you dare segue.
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
Or if you have any recommendations, or the reverse of recommendations. What are disrecommendations? Damnations. Stick them in the comments, or stick them on the Reddit, or on the Facebook.
Have a wonderful Christmas season.
Yeah, have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
And try not to get into debt, because then you'll be
a Grinch.
A Jim Carrey. See ya.
Bye.